The moment you go online, you are recorded as having gone online. You leave a print. People know roughly where you're coming from. The scale of the activity, the depth of the activity is just mind-blowing, really. I mean, it's just, for a researcher like myself, it's like finding a massive gold mine. And it's just wonderful data, wonderful sort of harvest, and that's a good way of describing it. And it's happening as I'm sitting here now. More and more people are leaving their footprints, their fingerprints for us to analyse, because things change, and that's the other beauty. We can watch change happen almost in real time. We don't have to guess, we can just look and see. Unless you've got a bigger data set than me, and most people haven't, then don't bother. Believe what I've got here and carry on.
Music is a big prayer.
One could definitely argue that Google is an advertising company. Its hold over advertising is unmatched. What Google has is not so much a monopoly on search. The switching costs of search are pretty, one click away. What it has is the beginnings of a monopoly over internet advertising.
Are people aware of what they're trading when they contribute to the Google machine?
I think people are, whether explicitly or implicitly, pretty aware of what the trade-off is, and I don't think that's explicit. I don't think that's necessarily just for Google. I think as we go online, the deal is relatively straightforward. So when you go on Amazon and you click, and as you click through from product to product to product, you start to see the recommendations appear, either based on your past history or more typically your session. As you start looking for cameras, you start to see people who looked at this also looked at that. People who bought this, people who clicked at this bought that. In the course of your clicking, the service becomes more useful to you. The implicit, and for many people the explicit trade-off is that in exchange for watching over your shoulder as you shop, we will help you shop better. And no one seems to have any problem with this because this is they trust Amazon, and this is if you go into a store and the store assistant says, "Can I help you?" And if the store assistant is good and you're feeling like you need help, you'll go through this little communication. Here's what I'm looking for. What do you think of that? What do you think of that? A little more of this. The advice will get better and better and better, and eventually you will get what you want. Amazon does this exact same thing. So there's nothing new about this trade-off. In the same way that you don't, that in the store, as the assistant helps you shop, you're choosing to give up information about your preferences for the sake of a better experience. You do so as well in Amazon. If you don't want to give up personal information, you just don't have to log in to Amazon. You can do it anonymously. Google works the same way. You type in your search term,
Music
Caribbean holiday,
prayer.
and Google will give you a useful set of results, and they will also give you some ads on the side. And as your term gets more and more specific, maybe a date range, a price range, and things like that, the ads will get more and more specific and more relevant. Presumably at a certain point, not only are the search terms what you're looking for, but the ads are what you're looking for as well. And so you now have two sets of results to choose from. Now if the one on the right side, the ads, is actually even better than the one in the middle column, you will choose that one and you will click there. But it's your choice. And so, Google knows what you're interested in right now. Do they know who you are? Do they have a profile of you? Not in any real sense. But they are watching as you click. But because we trust Google to watch for the right reason, which is to give us better results, we're okay with this.
I'd like to take you back to almost your first day at Google. And what was the atmosphere like? What did it feel like as a company?
Well, I think that actually one of the more interesting anecdotes from the early days in terms of giving people a sense of what it was like was back during my interviews, which were in April of 1999. And at the time, Google was a 7-person company. I arrived and I was interviewed at a ping pong table, which was also the company's conference table. And it was right when they were pitching for venture capital money. So actually after my interview, Larry and Sergey left and took the entire office with them to the venture capitalists. So the office manager, who was the only person remaining, came in and apologized and said, "I'm sorry, I know it was very important for us to get the interviews done today, but everyone has left. So you'll have to come back tomorrow." And so I came back the next day, and on that day, so I got to meet the whole company, because in those days the whole company interviewed you. And my last interview was with a fellow, Amit Patel. And when Amit came in, he said, "You know, it's somewhat awkward because I just started this morning, so I'm not sure exactly what to ask you, but you know, let's have a chat anyway." And so, so it was really interesting to see just how fast the company was growing. That it literally grew, you know, from 7 people to 8 people. What is that, like 15% overnight? And we really had to come to speed quickly. Like Amit had to become an expert interviewer on what types of qualities to look for in a Googler, literally within his first few hours of starting.
During that phase, because obviously, I guess the focus was like, let's just build the best search possibly can. And were people thinking about money, about how we might actually make money from this, or it's just about let's just build the best possible search engine?
Well, certainly we were really interested in building a sustainable business, and we had just received venture capital money. We wanted to think about how to invest it and how to scale the service. But it is notable that the very first day when I arrived, they had 2 projects that they assigned me, one to work on and one to help out with. So I was the lead on one and sort of a helper on the other. And one of them was working on the ad system, and the other was building a better way of buying products or searching for products to buy online. So those are still 2 things that we're very interested in today, but that commitment was there right from the beginning. We knew we needed to build an advertising system, and I actually believe that on the, sometime in that first week, on the second or third day I worked here, someone pointed out that the goal really was to have ads that were as relevant and as targeted as search results, that added as much to the user experience. So that was the vision, from right when I started on. Search occupies this really magical moment in advertising where demographics, billboards, commercials on television, they're really trying to find people who are likely to be thinking about buying a service or think about buying a product. And with search, we don't need to guess. We know what they're thinking about because they just typed it into the box. And we were like, well, for an advertiser, that's the perfect moment. And so we knew there would be some element of demand.
The counterculture has become the heart of capitalism. And so it's no coincidence that the new barons of capitalism, the young men in Google and Yahoo and MySpace and Twitter and Facebook, are also deeply countercultural. So when you listen to the young men who run Google, they will spout the ideology about the absence of an edge. They will talk about doing no evil. They will attempt to reform the world in their image. The reality, though, is they're monopolizing the print business. They're putting newspapers out of business. The reality is they hire 747 jets. They buy the airports next to their office and they fly around Africa. So the reality of economics and the ideology seem in contradiction, but when you understand, I think, the full history of the internet, it actually makes sense.